Hey guys, welcome to Programming Knowledge. In this video, we will be talking about switch case statements. So before talking about the switch case statement, I would like to talk about the if-else ladder. So that is nothing but a simple implementation of the if-else ladder itself. So let me give you an example. Suppose you have, let me comment it down here. You have a question like in the MCQ kind of thing. So you have a question and you have four options like this, and you have a choice. So I just say your choice, your choice, and here the user can enter whatever number he wants, and you can check whether his answer is correct or not. So you just check whether the choice is one, or else you again go for another check. You check whether the choice is two or not, right? And if it is not 2, you go and check for another set of conditions. So if choice is equal to 3, you have something to do, or else again you check whether his choice is 4 or not. So if choice equal to 4, and if none of these are true, then you say that it is an invalid option. So you do something like this, right? So this is the kind of implementation where you are not using the if else ladder. So here you are using the if else ladder. So how do I make it as an if else ladder? So what is else if? Basically it is the same implementation, just that it is using a rule that the else statement always goes with the innermost if. So let me write it down here. It's a very important rule. So the rule is always the else statement goes with the innermost if. So this is a rule you need to remember. Always, this is always true that the else statement goes with the innermost if. So if you write a program like if, and then you have a else for that, sorry, else for that, and you have an if, you have another if, and you have an else. So the hierarchy of this particular program is there is an if condition, and for that you have an else condition. So these three statements belong to this else condition. So let me write it down neatly. So if you have an if condition like this, and suppose this fails, the else is there, right? So inside this else, actually, so even if you write something like if and else, so what is going to happen is these three statements go with this else statement, and this else, if and this else are what are the actual if and else, the actual contrary part, that is this one. So if choice equal to 1, or else you are going to perform any of these operations, right? Or else you are not even going to look at them. If choice equal to 1, you won't consider these options. So here again, so here if you observe there are two ifs, right? So this if is evaluated. So this else always will go with the innermost if. So what is the innermost if? This if, right? So here if I have a condition 1, and here if I have condition 2, condition 1 is evaluated and condition 2 is also evaluated, and only if the condition 2 fails. So if this fails, then this else is activated, right? So this else always goes with this particular if, not the condition 2 one, but always with the innermost if. So this is a rule that is what is used while using the if else ladder. The thing you do is you don't actually put the braces, but you just put a word like else if. So that has the same meaning. Instead of these braces, you are just minimizing it. So it increases the readability. So here if I put else if, and here also the same thing. So this if I just remove this, and this else goes here, and you have final else. So see, I did not add any word, just that the same program, the same braces, I just removed the braces. So now the program is much more readable, right? So if choice equal to 1, or else if choice equal to 2, or else if choice equal to 3, or else if choice equal to 4, or else if none of these are true, it's an invalid option. That is the use of else if statement. So now let us talk about the switch case statement. So switch case statements are not always used for all kinds of comparison. They are actually a kind of alternative for the conditional statements, but they are always not used. Switch cases are used only when we need to compare the equality of two operands. So let me write it down here. Switch cases. Okay, sorry. Switch cases only compare equality. So you cannot compare whether something is greater than or less than equal to or something like that. You can just compare whether they are equal to or not equal to. So the way you define switch case statement is for the same thing I'm going to do. So let us write a complete program. We'll understand like that. So let me put this here. Um, so let us ask by asking something. So see out. Let's just say enter your choice for now. You can add any kind of input for of your choice. So just I'm just saying enter your choice, and I'm going to enter put my choices one down the other. So I'll start with number one, and again another one. So let's say two, and you have three, and you have four, and you have new line, and here I'll just put enter your choice. So let me give another new line so that we can differentiate between our choice and the question. So now our choice is going to be an int. So in choice and C out, sorry, C in choice. So you got our choice. Now in the previous case, how we did that, we just checked whether the choice is one or two or three. You can do that actually, if, and else. So suppose there are 10 conditions, you have 9 else ifs and one if, and then you have an else part where it is none of the choices. So that's how it works. In case of switch case, it becomes much more easier. So the way you do that is you just switch, sorry, the spelling was wrong, switch, you put your variable in there. So what is our variable? It's choice, right? So switch choice, you have a brace, and here you are just going to define your cases. So you have a case, and then this is just like comparing choice equal to some number. So I just say case one, and then you need to do something. So let's just print you chose one, something like that. And then the most important thing in switch case is that you need to do something called break. So we'll talk about this keyword. This break is a keyword. We'll talk about that in the next video. But for now, you just remember after every case, after performing every statement for a case, you need to break out of that case. So I generally do that without the braces, but you can even put a brace over here. So this is also correct, but I generally don't use a brace. It's okay if even if you don't. So this is the same thing we are going to do for every case. So case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4. That's all right. So we have only 4 choices. And then let me first do that. Afterwards we'll look at the other condition. So you chose 2, you chose 3, you chose 4. Now let's suppose he did not choose any one of them. Now what is going to happen is you are going to use something called the default case. So the way you do that is you put a default and then you just print the invalid, whatever the exception you wanted to print. So invalid choice, something like that. So that is how you use switch case. It is very easy to read, and this is mostly used in case of such menu based programs. So you have menus or you want to choose something or something like that. So generally we use switch cases because they are much easier to implement than the if else. So you need to write if else again and again and again. So this one is much more easier than writing the if else ladder. So you can even compare strings, you can compare characters. So characters are nothing but integers, and you can compare boolean values also. You cannot compare something relational, right? So you cannot compare whether it's in some range or not. If you want to compare that, you need to go with the if else statement, or else switch case is going to work for you. So let us quickly execute this program. So F9. So here it's asking enter your choice. Let me just put 2 and enter. So here it says you chose 2. So let us now look at what will happen if I just remove this break. So let me just remove these three breaks. Right now, once I try to execute it, just see what happens. Now it's again asking for my choice. Now if I enter something like let's say 1, what it should print? It should print you choose 1, right? It was working in the previous time. So now if I just put enter, it says you chose 1, you chose 2, you chose 3, you chose 4. Why did that happen? Because of the break statement. So now if I don't have the break statement, what is going to happen is it is going to evaluate from this order only. It is going to from top to bottom. So now if first it checks the first case, and then if this fails it goes to the second one, if this fails it goes to the third one, and whenever it finds a match it is just going to drop down just like that. So the break prevents the drop down. If you don't have a break, it is going to print everything in that order. So if I just remove this break also, and suppose I try to execute this again, so now here if I put some case like let's say some arbitrary number, so 3. So here if I press 3, now observe that there's no break, right? So it is going to go from 3, 4 and invalid choice. There's no break in between. So it's just going to drop down to the whole switch statement. So just press enter, it's going to say you chose 3, you chose 4 and then invalid choice. So that is why you need to put the break statement. So that's all for the switch case and if else ladder. In the next video, we'll be discussing about the jump statements and also we'll be starting loops. Till then, happy coding.